So, a very good evening, everyone. And I'm Dr. Neha Gupta from Giggles Clinics and my own space. And today we're going to talk about oral placement therapy, which is a therapy beyond the traditional speech therapy. So, what is it, how it works, who will be benefited, and can you do it at home or not, are the key points that we're going to cover today. So, I'll be starting with the screen sharing. Okay. So, I hope the slides are visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So oral placement therapy, a therapy beyond the conventional speech therapy, as we say. So oral placement therapy or OPT, it was developed by Sarah Rosenfield Johnson, who was the founder of Talk Tools, but it goes way back. This is a modern extension of the phonetic placement therapy developed by Van Riper in the years 1954. So this is not a new therapy, but a modern extension of the existing therapies which have been using the combination of auditory, visual, and the tactile input. So oral placement therapy, to be precise, is a type of oral motor therapy which utilizes an auditory stimulus, a visual stimulus, and a tactile kinesthetic stimulus. So I'd request kindly mute yourself, participants, so that there'll be no disturbance. Thank you. So in the traditional therapy, what happens, we tell the child, look at me, do what I'm doing. There's too much background noise. Okay. Just a second. The screen sharing is gone. Okay. So oral placement therapy, when we talk of it, it is an oral motor therapy which utilizes the combination of auditory stimulus, visual stimulus, and the tactile kinesthetic stimulus. So auditory stimulus is what the child is hearing. So I'm telling the child to say ba, and he hears it and tries to say the sound ba. The visual stimulus is that he is watching my lips, how they're moving. It is ba. And I'll give him a tactile kinesthetic feel. So suppose I use a ice cream stick or something to tell him ba. So now he can also feel ba. So this feel component or the or the component tactile kinesthetic or the proprioceptive feel of the sound is what is added in the oral placement therapy. So this therapy works on the three approaches together, and that is how it differs from the traditional therapy. In the traditional therapy, we are only seeing see me and hear me and do what I'm saying. But here we add the feel of the sound. And that is because most of our kids, they have low awareness of the body, they have low body tone. So they cannot really understand or place the articulators together in the appropriate manner to produce a sound and thereby produce the speech sounds and the words. And it targets specific movements needed for speech and feeding. So in OPT, we do not focus on any other oral motor exercises, so to say, which are the non-speech oral motor exercises like doing the tongue outside, which is a contradiction with the traditional therapy. So in the traditional therapy, tongue movements are mainly outside. But if you see, and which is logical, that all the tongue movements for the speech and the feeding part are done inside the mouth. So we do the movements which are inside the mouth so that child can reproduce them and use them to speak or to feed. Like if I'm telling him, if I'm teaching the child lateralization of the tongue, so generally what we'll teach is, we will give him a cue here. So suppose I'm giving it here and touch. But this is now not how the lateralization occurs. Lateralization occurs inside the mouth, right? So this is what we are doing in OPT. That is, we are doing the targeted movements for speech and feeding, and we are not focusing on the non-speech oral motor exercises. So OPT, it works on adequate strength needed for the jaw, lip, and the other articulator movements. So in the traditional therapy, we do not have specific, we do have, I'm not saying we don't have, but OPT particularly focuses on the adequate strength exercises. It needs to build the strength, the stability, the endurance of the muscle enough to produce the targeted speech sounds. So here we concentrate on building on the strength, because tone is something you cannot change. Muscle tone cannot be changed, but muscle strength can be changed. So we focus on the muscle strength to develop so that the child can produce specific sounds and then move on to the co-articulation and further sentence level and conversation level. It also helps in dissociation and grading, which are the foundational skills for co-articulation. So dissociation and grading we will be talking about in detail in further slides, but just in brief, dissociation is the separate movement of the articulators. Like if not even articulators, if I talk of the whole body, so if I want to pick up a cup from the table, so I'll only move my hand to pick up that cup. I will not lean my whole body forward to get that cup. So the movement of my hand and with my body still to pick up the cup is what is called as dissociation. So my arm is working in dissociation with my whole body. And grading is the segmented movements, which will ensure that I pick it up in the right manner and I bring it up to my lips. So dissociation is the separation of the movement, and grading is the segmented or very fine, precise movements to make that thing work. OPT also helps to overcome compensatory patterns such as fixing. So many a time, since there is less strength in the jaw, and we might see people or children talking like, how are you doing? Okay, so this is one compensatory mechanism which is known as fixing. So fixing is the various ways which the child or the person, he will try and do it to make the compensation for the speech sound or for the feeding. Please mute yourself, participants. Thank you so much. So when we talk of fixing, it is any compensatory mechanism that a child or a person will be making in order to produce a movement or to perform an action. So if I cannot move my arm till the cup, I cannot reach the table. So what I'll do is I'll lean down my body slightly. So I'm bringing in my bigger muscles to compensate the lack of strength or lack of grading, lack of dissociation in my arm. This is fixing. So I'll not pick the cup like this. I'm picking the cup like this. So the bigger muscles are coming in to help me, and this is a compensatory procedure. So this is not the normal way I'll pick up the cup from the table. So to avoid those fixing patterns in the speech or in the feeding, OPT really works well. It also works on the motor planning sequences for speech. So motor planning sequences, when we say that the child has praxia issues. Praxis is when you can plan the motor action as to how to speak. But when the child has motor planning issues, which we very commonly encounter in OTs also, it can be whole body praxis issues. So that can be tackled with OPT because it gives you the feel of the sounds, or where exactly am I supposed to put my tongue, put my lips, put my jaw so as to produce a particular sound. And also sometimes the speech of the child is fine, but the feeding issues are there. So it also works to produce the help in those things, in the sensory issues, in the feeding issues, and in the speech issues. So OPT works through three ways, that is visual, auditory, and tactile kinesthetic, and it works on 3 things. So goals and objectives we are just going to discuss in a short while. And it is not that OPT is a part of the whole communication building program. It is not a complete speech therapy in itself. So once we get those movements for the feeding or the speech, we immediately transfer it to function. So if my child can produce a lip seal, so I'll be like, if he can do this, I'll immediately transfer it to the sound ma, or ba. Or if he can lateralize the tongue, or if he can elevate and depress the tongue, so I'll immediately put it to action. So we are going to use OPT to build that base or the foundation for the speech and the feeding movements. And as soon as that muscle strength and the muscle memory is developed to produce that action, we immediately transfer it to function. And the function will be either speech or feeding, depending upon the issue of the child. So what are the goals and objectives of OPT? The first one here is the awareness of oral mechanism. So awareness, as we see in the whole body. So whatever you are seeing in the whole body, you will also see the same in the mouth. So if you're finding that the child has a low awareness in his whole body, there is high chance that the child will also have a low awareness in the mouth. So mouth is not separate from the whole body, that we can say that, okay, I can not feel the awareness in my leg, but I should feel it in my mouth. No, the whole body is together. So whatever trends you're seeing in the whole body, you will also see in the mouth. And awareness is a very common problem that we encounter, or that we know he's not feeling, the body awareness is not there. So the oral awareness is also missing in many of our kids. So to develop that awareness, we use OPT, because OPT provides you that sensory stimulus through your visual stimulus, through your auditory stimulus, and through your tactile kinesthetic stimulus, which gives you the awareness of your oral structure. And although mouth is only, very small part of the body, but it has a lot of things, a lot of articulators inside, and it is difficult for the child to feel. If a child is not able to feel where my lips are going in space, where my tongue is touching, where is my palate, what happens when my teeth are coming together. So how is he supposed to feed properly or speak properly? Because that awareness is not there. Should I close the lips if I'm talking? So I don't have to think whether my lips are closing or opening or happening. I know, I'm aware when my lips are touching, when my tongue is going up, when my jaw is stable. That awareness is missing in our kids at times, and OPT helps in developing that particular awareness. Second very important role that OPT can play is to normalize the oral tactile sensitivity. So huge issues we encounter with the sensory issues, and talking of sensory issues in respect to the oral perspective. So it can be the child can either be hypersensitive or hypersensitive, or he can have mixed sensitivity, he can have fluctuating sensitivity, or he can have tactile defensiveness. So hypersensitive child means who is not able to register the input enough to understand or be aware of what is happening inside the mouth. So a hypersensitive child, you will see, he is more seeking. He wants more crunchier textures. He will be overstuffing the mouth. He would like to feel everything in the mouth. He would prefer cold. He might prefer too hot. He might prefer spicy. So those are few things that we see in hypersensitive kids. In hypersensitive kids, they are overreactive to a lot of things. And picky eating issue we can find in any sort of sensitivity. So picky eating is not specifically for hypersensitive. Hypersensitive is when the child is feeling too much inside the mouth. So if my tongue is touching my palate, that is a problem to me. If my lips are coming together and touching each other, that might be a problem to me. When I feed and my teeth are grinding against each other, that can be a problem to me. So normally we find with the hypersensitive kids, they will be taking very small bites and try to swallow very quickly. And they usually prefer soft kind of food. These are the common trends that you see, but they can vary because sensitivity can vary even throughout the parts of the mouth. You might find a difference on the tongue, on the cheek, on the palate, on the gums. So that can happen. Mixed sensitivity is what I'm talking about. So you can see the different sensitivities in the different regions of the mouth. Next is your fluctuating sensitivity. I'm sorry, the slide moved. Anyways, so next is the fluctuating sensitivity. In fluctuating sensitivity, what happens is the child might be feeling sensitive right now, but he might not be feeling it. Just 1 second, there's a problem in the PPT. Yeah. Okay. So when we talk of fluctuating sensitivity, it is that the sensitivity is changing throughout the day. Maybe in the morning the child was okay, but over the period of time he started feeling more hypersensitive than, or he might be more hyposensitive, or he might become defensive if there is too much exposure of the foods, or if he starts talking too much, if something is put in the mouth for therapy, so he starts developing that thing. So fluctuating is it can fluctuate throughout the day. It can fluctuate from day to day. And tactile defensiveness is something that is developed when the child had a sensitivity issue and we tried putting some things into the mouth and he totally became defensive for it and is not ready to open the mouth, is what happens in tactile defensiveness. So to normalize the oral sensitivity, OPT is very helpful. For the hypersensitive kids, we need to bring them to the optimal zone. For the hyposensitive, again, we have to bring them to the optimal zone, the optimal sensory system, the zone of optimal arousal. OPT also helps in improving the precision of volitional movements of oral structures for speech production. So volitional movements is the voluntary movements that we create. Like I'm talking right now, so I know what I want to speak and I'm creating the movements in my mouth for that. So that precision has to be created so that the child sometimes, like there might be sensory issues, there might be awareness issues. So children are not aware. Where am I supposed to put it exactly so that the precise sound can come out. So that precision is sometimes missing in the children. So that precision we can have with the help of OPT. Okay. Also, OPT helps to improve the feeding skills and the nutritional intake. So, because there are sometimes a lot of sensory issues in the child's mouth, so you will find that he's not eating properly. Some kids are not taking soft food, some kids are not taking crunchy food, some kids are not taking fruits, some kids are eating only specific color food, some kids are avoiding specific color foods. So things like that. So we have to see that that sensory thing comes down into the normal zone and we can give them enough strength and movement in their oral apparatus to get the feeding skills. And when the feeding skills are achieved, like we find they're not chewing, so they'll just gulp it down. And they will choose or prefer the food textures that they can simply swallow down rather than chewing. So that hugely compromises the nutrition of the kids because of textures, the temperature, the color, the taste, and the difficulty to chew. So if those feeding skills are improved, there is an automatic improvement in the nutritional intake and the overall health of the child. So OPT, since it helps with the precision of the movements, it also helps in maximizing the intelligibility or the clarity of the speech. So if the child is not able to produce a precise sound, so we very often see the clarity missing because they are producing, but where exactly I put it? Where on my palate am I supposed to put my tongue to produce t or d or na or different sounds? So that precision, if it is not there, then they will maybe saying the instead of t or some other word instead of something else. and the clarity might be missing. They might be saying the same things, the right sound at the right point, but because the articulators are not coming in the precise movement, in the precise position, so there will be issues with the clarity. Now that I was talking about dissociation, grading, and fixing. So OPT helps majorly with the differentiation of oral movements. Dissociation, as I said, is the separation of movement based on stability. I'm sorry, again, it happened. Okay, dissociation is the separation of movement based on stability and adequate strength in one or more muscle group. So like we saw with the example of the picking of cup from the table, I only have to use my mouth. Now, if I have to say t, t, so here I'm only supposed to move my tongue and not my jaw or my lips. If I have to say so only my lips are coming together. So this separate movement of each articulator from each other. So this is very important to develop the speech sound and to develop the clarity later. Dissociation first, it happens in the whole body structure. Like from the whole body, first there will be separation of the head, dissociation of the head movements from the whole body. Then from the head, it will be the jaw. From the jaw, it will be lips. Then from lips, it will be tongue. So that is the hierarchy that goes. But dissociation is very important to develop the precise movements. Then grading. Grading is where I need to keep my articulators exactly. So the articulator is the same, suppose the jaw. But if I say ta, it is high up. It is in the high position. And if I say ah, it is down. So this stepwise or the segmented movement of my articulators, that it has to go from this level, this whole range with the segmented or the graduated movements is what is grading. So the articulator is the same jaw, but if it is in this position, open mouth position, so the sound will be something else. If the teeth are close together, the jaw is closed, the sound will be something else. So from here to here is the grading, that it can move exactly on the positions where it is supposed to be to produce the exact sound. And fixing. So fixing, as we see, if there is not enough strength or not enough stability or dissociation grading in the structures, so we will see that there is compensatory mechanisms happening with the child, and they might use one muscle or the other to help. So if they cannot lift their tongue to say ta, the whole jaw will go up. Ta. The jaw moves up to help the tongue to make that movement. And that becomes fixing, as they are not able to do the tongue elevation. So they took the help of the jaw and they have produced a fixing or the compensatory pattern so they can talk. But it's not that they will not talk with fixing, but the clarity might be compromised, or if it is feeding, so the function might be compromised to some extent. So the major question, who will benefit from OPT? And yes, not all candidates seeking speech therapy are the eligible candidates for OPT. So OPT we can apply for all ages and ability levels, and it is very beneficial for the kids or the adults who are having many types of speech disorders like dysarthria, apraxia, fluency disorders, hearing loss. So if we talk of these things, the traditional therapy is not very helpful because the child needs to feel. If a child of apraxia does not know how to plan the movements, if I want him to say cat, so he is not able to say ka, at together to produce that word cat. And if I show him say cat, ka, at, he is not able to get it. So there you need to use the tools to tell him where exactly the your tongue, your lips, your jaw has to be to produce those sounds or the words. So this can help kids or the adults over a wide range of diagnosis, because it is incorporating the third component, that is the tactile component, which is important for the awareness and the placement of the oral articulators in the exact place. And it is also very beneficial for the clients who do not respond to the traditional therapy for a wide period of time. So we see that they are taking therapy for a very long period of time, but there is minimal success in that. And that is where OPT can help really, because from the visual and the auditory stimulus, the child is not able to get the sounds or not able to proceed further. So using the OPT techniques, we can take the child further and we can help them to produce the sounds, go to the word level and further. We proceed like that. And OPT, talking of the traditional and the OPT, so if we also combine the OPT and the ABA principles or the behavioral strategies, then even giving sounds to non-verbal kids is also possible, and there have been quite a lot of successful cases on that. So what is the other type of clients who will be benefited from OPT? Those with oral placement deficits as they relate to speech disorders or feeding deficits. So if there is reduced mobility, the child is not able to move the oral articulators like he should be to produce the speech sound. So if my jaw is not able to go through this whole movement, or my tongue is not able to do the complete elevation and depression, so I will not be able to produce the sounds. I might not have that mobility in my muscles to produce those things, or reduced agility. So I'm able to move, but I'm not able to move them quickly because I do not have that stability to get the co-articulation. Then if there is reduced precision, so for saying la, sometimes this is very common fixing pattern that we see, la, la. So the child is placing the tongue on the outer edge of the teeth rather than the inside of the teeth where it should be placed. So the precision is missing as to where I'm putting it. So the child gets into the fixing pattern. And the kids who do not have enough endurance. Endurance is they do not have enough strength to sustain the full sentence. So if a child starts speaking, suppose, I saw the aeroplane in the sky. So this whole sentence needs the endurance of my muscle to complete the sentence with clarity, with the same pitch, and be intelligible to the other person. So this endurance has to be developed, and OPT can help because it has criteria for success for every exercise, and that criteria for success is based on the fact that if we reach that particular time, so we are sure that the muscle has developed that much strength and the muscle memory to use it for the proper function of speech or feeding. Now, the clients who are not appropriate for OPT. So the clients who can produce the targeted speech and sound using auditory and visual cues with adequate mobility, adequate agility, adequate precision, and adequate endurance are not the candidates for OPT, and they usually fall into the cases who have language problems. So if there are speech sound problems, feeding problems, speech clarity issues, sensory issues, so that group of kids or adults are usually benefited, or the non-verbal kids, they are benefited by OPT. But those kids who can see and copy you and speak after you, have echolalia and clarity of speech, they are not the candidates for OPT. We do not need to perform OPT on them, as there is no need, because the function of OPT is to build on that muscle movement as it is required and then immediately transfer it to function. And since these kids have already reached the stage of function, so we do not apply OPT on them. Now, how OPT works. So before I go to that, let me just quickly tell you about how speech sounds are produced, or what is the process of speech production. So speech production starts with respiration. And in this, the normal respiration and the respiration for the production of speech is different, because here we are inhaling through nose and exhaling through the mouth, and on that exhalation, my speech sounds are superimposed. So when I'm exhaling, I'm saying the full sentence. I'm not taking in my breath in again and again, so to say the sound. Okay, so this exhalation is what gives me the window to speak. And this window gives me a superimposition of the sound over the exhalation. So respiration here is different from the normal respiration, which goes like in, out, in, out, in, out. But in speech production, it is like in and the out is longer, then in, then out is longer. Because on that longer exhalation thing, we are going to superimpose our speech sounds and speak on the exhalation. So I'm not speaking like process of speech production is no. So I'm talking like inhalation and process of speech production is so and so. So this is how we talk, and that is how respiration for speech differs from the normal process of respiration. Second is your phonation. So now that inhalation has occurred and the process of exhalation has started, so from the lungs, the air moves into the vocal cords. Here the vocal cords get vibrated and the voicing is produced. So if I'm saying the words right now is because there is vibration going on in my vocal cords, which is known as phonation. This develops the voicing. Next is your resonance. Now the air has crossed the vocal cord level. So after that, it will either go to mouth or it will go to nose to produce the specific speech sound. This is called the process of resonance. So if I have to say my sounds like ma, na, so the air will go through the nose. But if I'm saying the other sounds like ba, pa, ta, da, so they will go through the mouth. So resonance is the process in which the air will go out either through the mouth or the nose to produce the sound. And articulation is finally the placement of your articulators in the way to produce the targeted sound or the word or the targeted sentence. So this is very brief about speech production. If you want to know more about it, so there is a video uploaded on our YouTube channel. You can go through it. So talking of, I'm not getting into all the articulators for speech production. I'm only discussing three primary articulators, which are the jaw, lips, and the tongue. Now, whenever we talk of speech, so if we say what is the most important articulator of speech, and almost everybody will come up with the answer, tongue. However, the most important articulator for the speech is your jaw. As you can see in the diagram, jaw is forming the foundation. Then comes the lips and then the tongue. This is also the hierarchy of dissociation happening. And till your jaw is stable, the speech intelligibility is really very, very difficult. It will not happen actually, because jaw has to be stable for everything. So if I say, all of you can just put your hand like this. And if you say A, B, A to Z, I'm saying. So if you do it with me, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So if you've noticed, your hand has almost or very slightly moved. And that was because my jaw was stable on one position to help my other articulators produce the whole range of sound from A to Z. And if this stability is not there, so how will I be talking A, B, C, D? So if this keeps on moving, the clarity cannot happen even if the child knows where am I supposed to place my other articulators to produce the correct sound. So jaw is one very underestimated articulator on which the intelligibility and the speech sound production relies heavily. So if we have enough strength in the jaw, enough stability in the jaw, enough grading in the jaw, so then the results are better. We can very clearly see the difference. And often we see that initially we are working only on the jaw strength, and parents cannot relate why we are working on this, because I want my child to move the tongue. Tongue movement will happen. But first things first, if we go on to settle the talk about the general issues of the child, so the first thing we go to is OT, because we want to settle the sensory issues of the child. Like sensory forms the foundation for rest of the things for the higher executive functions. Likewise, jaw forms the foundation of your oral articulators or the speech production. So if jaw is not stable, if jaw doesn't have enough endurance, if it is not doing its function like it should be, then no matter how good the precise movements of tongue be, there will be a failure in the clarity of the speech. So first we go for the strengthening and stability of the jaw, and then we proceed to the lips, and then we go to the tongue. However, depending upon the level of the child, these three things can be started together. So we have to see where the child's current level is. So how does OPT actually work? So it teaches, like I mentioned in the goals and objectives, it teaches the child awareness and the exact placement. So if I'm telling the child to say t or d or m, anything, so I will give him that tactile cue on the palate, maybe with the help of some tool, maybe with the help of some vibration as needed, or I need to bring his sensory issues down. But I will teach the child exact placement of the articulators to produce the targeted speech. And if we are doing for the feeding program, then we will teach the child how to chew, how to swallow, how to close the mouth while eating, how to do the tongue retraction while swallowing. So everything, the placement is taught. And yes, it takes time. It is not a magical thing that works overnight, but consistency and regular work with OPT definitely gives you good results. So OPT also works for the clients who want to expand speech sound production from phonemes. So if the child is only able to produce certain tits and bits sounds, like few phonemes, maybe b or p or t, but they're not able to produce the other sounds, or they're not able to blend those things. So that also OPT helps in doing. And as I mentioned before, that it is not a whole speech program. As soon as we produce the targeted movements, we immediately transition it to the function. So once my child is ready with the base, so as soon as my child can produce b or ma or p, I will transition him to the hierarchy of words. And the hierarchy of words for OPT differs from the traditional therapy again. Here it is the transition from OPT to speech occurs at 3 levels based on the jaw shifts. So we will start with the words which require minimal or no jaw shift, so that the child only has to keep the jaw in one position, and then we increase on the complexity. So that is how we proceed, and then comes the initial, final, medial, and so on. So the sounds have to be done in a variety of ways so that the child can use it anywhere and everywhere. So as soon as we achieve that, we immediately transfer the child to function, and then we move on to the development of the communication. Both receptive automatically is going on and the expressive part of the communication. So once my child is done with one thing in the OPT, I will immediately transition him to further communication development, the expressive language development in that section, and continue working on the OPT goals which are not fulfilled. So we do not wait that I will first finish my OPT program and then I'll progress my child to the communication or the language development program. So as soon as my child achieves this, I'm going to move to this. If he has started saying the sound b, I will immediately go on to manding of b. Okay. So now the last thing of the webinar, and the very important thing, can you do OPT at home? Yes, you can do OPT at home, but yes, you need to learn the techniques, how to do it. And if you do that diligently and if you do that regularly, so the cases that I've discussed, who will be benefited with the OPT, those kids do see a wonderful change. So, but of course, the commitment of the parent is very much required. It is a slow and regular process. The sensories have to be settled down, the movements have to be taught, and everything has to be done. So you can definitely do it at home, but under the guidance of an expert. So that was a very brief about what is OPT and how we do it, who will be benefited, and whether you can do it at home or not. So now I think we can proceed to the questions. I'll just stop the screen sharing. Just a second.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Just a second. Give me 1 second. Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Please tell me.
Ma'am, can we have techniques to introduce a new food
Yes,
which
there
a
are
child
ways.
is not taking?
Like I said, first of all, we will see what is the sensory status of the child. If the sensory system is not in sync, then the sensory techniques as well as the introduction of new food will go together. If the sensory is okay for the placement of new, for starting the new food technique, so we can start with few things like you can start with food play, you can start with portion control of the food. So in food play, whichever food you think that the child is not comfortable with, you will give him to first explore with the hands. Till the hands are comfortable with the touch of the food, we cannot expect the child to eat that. So as I said, whatever you see in the whole body, you will see in the mouth. So if my child is not eating, say, a banana, so what I'll do is I'll just cut the banana, and again, it takes time. So I'll cut the banana, I'll put it in his vicinity. Some kids have that visual stimulus strong enough that the sight of the food only will be very repelling to them, and they will not take the food inside the mouth. By the sight of it only, they will just run away from it. So we have to see whether it is the visual stimulus, it is the smell, the olfactory stimulus, it is the touch stimulus. What is affecting the child? Please others, mute yourself. So we have to see what is it that is affecting the child from taking in the food. So food play is one thing you can introduce, and portion control. So if my child doesn't have a problem touching it, but it is only the oral sensitivity, so we will work on the oral sensitivity, and with that I will introduce only one very tiny bite, okay, with the preferred food to start with. So if he likes to eat apple, so I'll give a very small amount of banana with apple, and I will keep on changing the proportions. So my proportion of banana will keep on increasing and the proportion of apple will keep on decreasing. So these two things you can try, but once again I'll say that first you need to know what exactly, which sensory stimulus is stopping him from eating that.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yeah, my son is 10 years old. He keeps putting everything in his mouth. So what can I really do to help him? He's hypersensitive, loves crunchy foods, ice cream, hot, but he
Hmm.
puts everything in his mouth.
Hmm. So, what is the, how about his proprioceptive system if we talk about the whole body?
It's good. I'll keep him going to OT, do lots of exercise with him, but still he keeps on eating. I'm using a toothair also, vibrating brush, using different textured food also, crunchy food, give him after some interval, using a chewy tube also, but nothing is helping him much.
Okay. See, now again, the exercises that are done. I'm sorry, can I please? There's too much sound in the background. Hello? I'm sorry, I think somebody who was asking the question, I've muted them. Please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Could you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Actually, ma'am, my son problem is fine
Ma'am,
motor planning.
just a second, ma'am. We were
Basically,
already talking about one question. I'll just come back to you. So I was first answering some other question, which was about the oral sensory seeking. So for that, we need to normalize the oral sensitivity and give him enough input. Now, just doing the chewy tube, just giving the vibrations do not help. They have to be given in the right way. And vibrations, I think, are the most over and misused because they're a very high level tactile cue, and we just give vibration to every child, which sometimes ends up in increasing the issues rather than decreasing them. So we have to use everything judiciously now that we know the child is hypersensitive. So we will do techniques like chewy tube. The exercise has to be done in a certain way. Now, why the child is seeking the oral input is because he is activating his TMJ. TMJ is one joint which gives you a very high level of proprioception for the whole body, not only the oral structures. So if you see, when a child starts munching on things, he calms down. That is because the proprioception is going to his temporomandibular joint, which is the calming joint of the body. So we have to do the chewing exercises slowly so that we can give enough input to the TMJ to solve these problems. Also, the child, if we are talking of mouthing, we have to rule out the medical issues. If there is any nutritional deficiency, especially iron, so we need to rule out pica. If that is not there, then we have to give him the oral input, proprioceptive input, and if required, the whole body proprioceptive input. Again, after that, the child might be in the sensory play zone. So when we talk of the development, so sensory play is one time where the child is exploring through all his senses and he tends to mouth almost everything. So that exploration has to be seen if he's in the exploration phase or if he's in the sensory seeking stage. So we have to differentiate that, and accordingly we will go on to the solution of the problem.
So exactly what am I supposed to do? He is 10 years old and done a lot of exercises thing. He's not, it's a sensory issue more. It's no medical issue. I've ruled out the iron and the pica part out from him. So what exactly I need to do, and where do I get videos how to correct use of chewy tube and vibration and all? Do you have any videos so that we can look and work on the child?
That video is not available as such because that goes out with the OPT training program and the home programs that we do. So if you want to go for that, you can get in touch with us. But when you're doing the chewy tube, just as a general tip, so you have to do it slowly. So if I'm putting my chewy tube like this, gently, this is normally what we do. So it doesn't give you any input to the TMJ.
Okay.
So you have to do it slowly. This is the right way of doing chewy tube to give the proprioceptive input to your TMJ. Then there are other things that we can try, of course, but first we need to do the assessment of the sensory system.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, ma'am, I have two questions. The first one is my son has fine motor planning issues. His gross motor planning has not kind of issues, but the fine motor planning he has issues, and he has a sequencing issues. Like he's just making the sound, but he's not joining the sound like CV sound, like ow, ah, and o. The two sign he's not joining. That's the first problem. And the second problem is, ma'am, though my son is doing the blowing the balloons and all the thing, he is not spitting the what we means we kind of spit. That kind of spitting he has not. So how can I solve this?
Okay, so for your first problem, he's not combining the, he's not blending it. So as I said, there might not be the enough strength or stability or endurance in the muscles to make him that blend. This is co-articulation when we talk. So when we are combining the sound, so he's not able to do that. So for that, you have to see that I'm sure there must be strength issues or the stability issues in the muscles. So we need to work on that, and then this thing automatically gets rectified. Also, when we do two things together, like ah and o, you're saying for ah.
Yes, yes.
So first I'll be using my tool. Suppose I'm using a hand prompt for ah. So ah, ah, oo. Okay. So for one,
this is his done. But when I say my son name is Anirudh, ow, and then he is not telling ow. But when I give him the clue, A and O, then he is doing.
So he's saying it ow correctly?
Ao, ma'am, no, ma'am, A, pause and O, and with tactile clues, like a hand tactile clues.
So normally what we do is we use one tool and one hand prompt when we're moving on to the co-articulations or the blendings, because the child will not be confused. So I'm saying A, O. Ow, ow. Okay, so for one I'll go for tool and the other I'll go for a hand prompt. And this has to be faded off. So first we start with the tools, then we go for hand plus tool, then we go for only the visual, and then we fade off the prompt. So in your
there is a problem. That's sequencing and problem.
So that fading of prompt probably has not been done as yet in your son's case. So if you fade those prompts systematically, you will achieve your blends.
Okay. And ma'am, second one, the thaw sound means he's not spitting.
Yeah.
Though he's blowing is okay.
So can he hold the air or the water in his mouth?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
So I'll suggest that you first start with the holding of water in the mouth, and then we can proceed on to the spitting. It comes very easily after that, but first teach him holding the mouth, holding the water. You
Okay.
have to get that, okay, this strength of holding, and then pressure through the cheeks. So these muscles have to be used for spitting. So you can start with the
Hello, ma'am.
and then you can get in touch with us.
Okay, ma'am.
Hello,
And
ma'am.
I am using the Talk Tools product. And my question, and how long I continue for that? I'm doing the Talk Tool products, all the things, and how long I continue?
What exactly is the issue, ma'am? Is it speech, or is it sensory, or is it feeding?
Ma'am, feeding is completely okay after using the OPT at home, but the main problem now is speech, means communication.
Okay. Speech, sound production, or communication as an expressive language?
Ma'am, communication as expressive language.
So as I said, as soon as we are done with the muscles memory, we produce the sound, the targeted muscle movement is produced, we transition to function. So if you have transition to function, so there is no need for OPT.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. My daughter is 9-year-old, and she always keeps her mouth open. She is speaking. Her communication is good, and although some ta-ta-da sounds are not very clear, and the problem is why she keeps the lower jaw is always open. Then I asked her, she will close it, but
Sorry. I think I have muted you, ma'am. Please unmute yourself because there was a background noise. Somebody was asking the 9-year-old child.
Yes, ma'am. My 9-year-old daughter, उसकी speech अच्छी है, communication अच्छा करती है वो, expressive and all. उसका थोड़ा सा clarity issues है टाटा डा में, लेकिन उसका सबसे बड़ा जो है problem दिखता है मुझे कि उसका jaw हमेशा open रहता है. अगर मैं उसको बोलती हूँ कि please close your jaw, तो वो then she will shut her mouth. But again थोड़ी देर बाद उसका हो जाएगा, जब वो काफी focus कर रही हैं किसी चीज पे, खेल रही हैं, तो वो उनका अपने आप open हो जाता है.
Okay.
तो वो क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
मैम वो मोस्ट लाइकली वो मसल टोन का प्रॉब्लम होगा. देयर इज नॉट इनफ स्ट्रेंथ इन द जॉ मसल टू कीप इटसेल्फ क्लोज्ड, क्योंकि वो अगर यहाँ पे स्ट्रेंथ नहीं है तो इट विल जस्ट ड्रूप, क्योंकि ग्रेविटी भी वर्क कर रही है. सो जॉ हैज टू, द माउथ हैज टू बी क्लोज्ड अगेंस्ट द ग्रेविटी, एंड इफ द चाइल्ड डज नॉट हैव इनफ स्ट्रेंथ इन द जॉ, देन द जॉ विल ड्रूप विद द ग्रेविटी. ओके.
I have seen
hello, ma'am.
T-shape,
Ma'am.
and the blue.
Ma'am, मेरा grandson 12 years old है.
Ma'am, we are already with one query. Please, we will take up everything. Let's just go turn by turn.
Ma'am, I'm using the red one, the T-shape, and the blue one, cross X shape. ये दोनों मैं use कर रही हूँ उसको chewing के लिए. Like 40-50 times, 2-3 sets she is able to do in a day. मतलब उसके बाद वो करना नहीं चाहती because she is older, तो वो behavioral हो जाता है.
See,
So
jaw.
what I should do? And
Yeah,
which
jaw
finger
exercise. Most commonly, we for a child 3 years and above, we do not use bite blocks for under a child 3 years. So for that, we will use the bite blocks. These are the primary exercise tools that we use to.
She's 9 years old.
Yeah, so you can use her in that, and this one helps in building the strength and the graded strength very nicely. Your chewy tubes are not giving that gradation and strength in the jaws as much as the bite blocks do. So you can start with the bite blocks.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
मेरे
hi,
grandson 12 years old है.
Hi.
और उसको global delay development की problem है, plus autism.
Ma'am, how old is the child?
12 years old.
12 years old. Okay.
Yeah. और मैम उसकी क्या है, स्पीच तो है ही नहीं बिल्कुल भी, ना आई कांटेक्ट है, ना वॉकिंग है, कुछ भी नहीं है.
Okay.
तो हम उसको किस तरह हेल्प कर सकते हैं मैम? मुंह में तो पूरा टाइम उसके हाथ रहता है. सेंसरीज देने पे ड्रूलिंग बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है. ड्रूलिंग होती है वैसे पर कम होती है, लेकिन सेंसरीज देने पे बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है.
मैम सेंसरी में आप क्या दे रहे हैं?
वाइब्रेटर और ब्रश.
Then sensory is not just vibrator brush. That is what I said. Ki vibration is overused. as soon if you give vibration to the drooling child, तो वो तो बढ़ ही जाएगा, क्योंकि आप already आपके मुंह में already control नहीं है, and then you're giving in an added input, so the salivation increase and the drooling will increase. Now that you mentioned,
क्या कराया जाए मैम उसको?
मैम बिना देखे फ्रैंकली यहाँ पे मतलब आई डोंट नो कि बच्चे का मसल स्ट्रेंथ कितना है, उसके सेंसरी इश्यूज कितने हैं, तो यहाँ पे ये क्वेश्चन का आंसर देना इज अ लिटिल टू डिफिकल्ट फॉर मी, बट स्टार्ट विद द स्ट्रेंथनिंग एक्सरसाइजेस ऑफ द
एक्चुअली मैम हम इंदौर में हैं, तो इंदौर में कुछ इस तरह का सेंटर कोई जहाँ पर हम उसको ले जाएं और वहां से हम पूरा डिटेल पता करके आपको भेजें?
You can do that, or you can contact us for the home program and the training. So we do it on the video sessions.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes.
Ma'am, this is Meghla. Yeah, my son is 6 years old now. So what is the problem is he is also eating all the non-edible foods. Like he will eat the wire, rope, everything putting in his mouth. And the one more major problem is he always used to give some sound. This is happening for almost 1 year. He will give whistling sound like coo, like that. He will always used to give that sound. I don't know what's the problem of this too.
See, as I said that the whole body sensory system also works. So for the oral, you can start with the chewy tube exercise and give it slowly. So first you do it on the right side, then you do it on the left side, and you do it together. Okay.
Okay.
But for if the seeking is too high, then giving the whole body input is also important to give the overall to get the overall proprioceptive system into place. Just working on the oral in case of kids who are mouthing excessively will not be very, very successful. We have to incorporate both the strategies together. We cannot separate out the mouth from the whole body. So if there is too much seeking in the mouth, so usually I'll give both the things together, the oral proprioceptive and the whole body proprioceptive to my kids. Okay, so that is one thing. The other thing was your sound. So for the sound, there can be many things. Since he's saying coo, so it can be the auditory thing. He's seeking the auditory stimulus, so he's doing it for that, or he might be doing it for, he's only saying coo or something like that also.
No, ma'am, only this sound, that like coo, that only he is giving.
Okay, so for a prolonged time during when he's free or when he's occupied, when is he doing that?
He wants to do it. Even though I will make him occupied, he wants to do that.
Okay, so that might be related. I cannot be sure at this point of time, but it might be related to his auditory sensitivities. So he might be an auditory seeker and he's producing the sound for that. Also, he might be getting the vibrations in the mouth by producing that sound. So he might be seeking those vibrations, stimulating his vestibular system. So we have to see in totality what actually is happening. Okay. So I suggest that you go for a sensory profiling. You can talk to your OT about this, and these things will normally help. So you can give the music to the child, you know, give him soft soothing music to the child, the exposure to it in the morning and the evening, and we generally see reductions in vocal stimming if the auditory stimulus is provided. SSP is one program that really helps with the auditory sensitivities. So you can discuss with your OT, you can get in touch with us for that.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am. My son is 10 years old and he has undergone a tracheostomy surgery some 6 years back. So he has a speech and language control. I mean, he can understand and talk everything.
Hello, ma'am.
Goes to the normal school. But the thing is that while he's talking, I have noticed that he always mostly keeps his tongue between two teeth, the incisors, upper and lower jaw. So that's why his clarity is not there in the speech. So this is one thing. And the other thing is while chewing the food, he prefers to chew it in the center and not take it to the cheeks, to the left side or the right side. So can you help with this?
See, first thing that the child is keeping the tongue between the teeth is because we have to see how, since he had tracheostomy, so what exactly happened if there is tongue protrusion. So if there is tongue in the forward position, we have to bring it back to the retracted position. So you can go for your sucking and blowing activities for that. And the second thing was...
he prefers chewing in the center. I mean, he doesn't take it to
so you never chew in the center. You smash the food in the center. So if you're putting the food on the tongue, So I'm actually smashing it against my palate and swallowing it. I'm not chewing it. So most likely the chewing has not developed in the child. So we need to develop the chewing through the various exercises in the child. So you can start with your chewy tubes, and there is bite blocks, talk tool bite blocks. So those help with developing the chewing.
But because I mean, it's not that he doesn't know how to chew, but I have to tell him like take the foot towards the side, because he prefers eating, a little bit in speed. So he just puts it in the between and just swallows it.
Right. So if he prefers to eat in speed, then again the sensory component is coming here. Why he wants to eat in speed? Is it that the feel of the food is too overwhelming for him in the mouth? So we have to assess those things, and then we can say that what exactly is the problem. Also, chewing is something that becomes automatically if my oral apparatus is in place and has enough strength. So if it is not having that strength, the feeding will not be as it should be, and we are seeing that in your case. So look for the sensory issues in the mouth, if it is hypersensitivity or what is the problem. And I'm sure the muscle strength is not enough to support automatic chewing. So both the things have to be worked upon.
So muscle strength in the sense you're talking about the cheek, the jaw muscle strength, the tongue?
Jaw.
Okay. The jaw muscle strength.
Jaw.
So for the jaw muscle strength, what do you recommend? You said blowing and...
No, blowing and sucking I told you for the tongue retraction, because tongue is in the forward position. So for the jaw exercises, you can go for your chewy tubes, you can go for bite block programs, you can go for gum chewing. There are many things that you can do for jaw exercises.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am. This is Apali, and my son is 8 years old. He keeps his mouth open even while he's sleeping, and I've noticed, his tongue rests on his upper jaw, touching his teeth. And even he too has the same problem of, keeping the food onto his front teeth while eating it. So he keeps, masses his food on his front teeth.
Okay.
How can I help?
See, since he's keeping the mouth open in the during the sleep also, so we need to check for the adenoids. He might not be able to breathe properly through the nose. There might be some structural, it can be DNS also. So deviated nasal septum, that can also be the cause of keeping the mouth open during sleep. So we need to first check why he's keeping the mouth open during sleep. Okay, that is one part. And the other one, like I just said before, so you have to work on the jaw strength and develop the chewing for him to have the food.
Okay. And all the time he keeps his mouth open. So the same problem, the DNS could be.
Yes, in his case, it might be because he's also doing it during the sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
All
first
right.
rule out the medical part, and if that is not there, then we work on the strengthening part.
Hello, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. My daughter is 4.5 years old. She is able to take porridge in the therapy center, but not at home. But she is able to drink, swallow, chew, gargle. She can do all the requirements, basic requirements for having the food. But why this happens, I do not know. Can you say?
Why this happens? Are they giving any sensory input before the porridge? Or how is her rapport with the therapist, and how it happens at home? So if she says no, it is more likely the behavior problem. So if she says no, how are you reacting, and how is the therapist reacting?
I asked there in the therapy center. They said that due to fear she is taking. My therapist said that due to fear, I won't allow you to go home if you do not have this porridge. Like that, if she says means, then she drinks it properly. At home, if I give, she is little bit verbal. So she says, I don't want this porridge. I don't like this. So I can't proceed furthermore. So I stop it.
So answer is very clear in front of you. It is out of fear that the child is taking, but it might be very difficult for her. And eventually, if we continue that, she will develop a tactile defensiveness for it.
Okay. How can I make her to drink such type of porridges? She also avoids to drink juices, all type of juices, raw juices without adding sugar. She avoids taking juices. She is able to bite and chew, and why I don't know the reason why she avoids the juice. It's more easier to consume than biting and chewing. Is there any remedy for it?
Sensory issue, as I mentioned, because the texture for everything, when we assess the feeding program, we take three textures into consideration: the solid, the purees, and the liquids. So she's comfortable with the solids and the purees probably, but not with the liquids. So we have to go accordingly and develop the feeding program for her to take the juices. So it will be more of the sensory motor aspect of what is happening in the mouth, and for the liquid specifically. So in the feeding, you can see the difference with the consistency of the foods that the child is consuming.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. My son is 5 years old. Now he repeats all the sentence and he's at manding stage. So what should we do for improve his communication? Does OPT will help him, or what should we do?
So he can say all the sounds clearly?
Yeah, he can say all the sounds clearly. Means any language in the English he can reproduce. Okay. Even he can ask question, but it's a need-based communication. Not when we ask. When he needs something, he will ask, give me water, give me some toy to play, or I want to go out. But it's all manding based, not as a communication. We ask him question.
Yeah. So if there is no problem with the feeding, with the speech clarity, then the child does not need OPT. He needs the communication program like we do for the receptive and the expressive language development. So if he was with me, so I will take the child to the communication program and not to OPT. He does not need OPT.
Okay. So do you have any communication home-based program now, or?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'll connect with the clinic then. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
मैम मेरा बेटा जो है 12 इयर्स ओल्ड है और उसका जो है ड्रूलिंग बहुत ज्यादा रहती है. कभी ठीक हो जाता है, कभी जो है बहुत ज्यादा ड्रूलिंग रहती है, कंट्रोल नहीं कर पाते. जब हम उनको रिमाइंड करते हैं तब वो उसको कंट्रोल करते हैं. और दूसरा मैम च्यूइंग में भी प्रॉब्लम है. जैसे वो साइड पॉकेट्स में अगर उन्होंने खाना नहीं डाला तो, और अगर वो सेंटर में चला गया तो फौरन वो वॉमिटिंग कर देते हैं. और यही चीज सॉलिड और लिक्विड दोनों में है. अगर जैसे हमने जूस दिया है और उसमें कुछ ग्रैनुअल्स हैं, जैसे मौसमी का अगर हमने जूस दिया और उसमें उसके ग्रैनुअल्स आ गए तो वो जैसे ही पियेंगे फौरन वो खांसते हैं और उसके बाद वो वॉमिट करते हैं.
राइट.
तो ये जी मैम.
व्हाट इज द डायग्नोसिस ऑफ द चाइल्ड मैम?
मैम सेरेब्रल पाल्सी है और ऑटिज्म का कहते हैं डॉक्टर्स. कुछ कहते हैं डेवलपमेंटल डीले है, कोई कहता है कि ऑटिज्म है.
Yes, because I was not expecting autism here. So like you said, CP है तो मसल टोन का यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है. CP किड्स में क्योंकि मसल टोन बहुत लो होती है तो कंट्रोल जो है माउथ का वो बहुत कम हो जाता है और हमें ड्रूलिंग देखने को मिलती है because they're not able to hold it. The swallow is not there. So again, like OPT is working on three things only: sensory, feeding, and speech. So I will work with the sensory part of the child to develop the motor plan. So I will give sensory to develop the perceptual motor movements. Okay. So we have to go for the strengthening of the child's muscle to contain him in the CP. There are certain oral massages that we'll be doing. There will be certain techniques that we will be doing inside to control the drooling. And when I start with the drooling kids, I usually start outside the mouth before going to the inside. Because once we get that tone outside, then they are at least used. First focus on the lip seal. Okay. We have to first make the lip seal so that he can contain the saliva inside, and then we enter that zone and we do it. Immediately, if I start giving the sensory input or the vibrations inside in the mouth, most likely we will see an increase in drooling. Okay. So according to the child, but again, it varies. So without seeing the child or without doing the assessment for him, or at least I have the videos of the child, so it is a little difficult to comment completely here, but yes, you need to work on the strength and you need to first work on developing the lip seal of the child.
मैम जब ये 3 years old थे तब से इनकी थेरेपी चल रही है और कंटिन्यूअस चली है. बस अभी ये लॉकडाउन में थोड़ा सा वो रुका है, नहीं तो वो कंटिन्यूअस चल रही है. लेकिन उसमें भी इनका ब्लोइंग सकिंग वगैरह अभी भी इतना परफेक्ट नहीं है. स्पिटिंग नहीं कर पाते हैं अच्छे से, पानी होल्ड नहीं कर पाते हैं अपने मुंह में. ब्लोइंग भी बहुत बुरी है. और यानी इम्प्रूवमेंट आता है और एकदम से साउंड सही होना शुरू होती है और एकदम से खत्म होने लगती है. आई डोंट नो व्हाई, क्योंकि इनको कन्वर्जेंस यानी फिट्स का भी प्रॉब्लम है. तो आई थिंक वो भी है एक प्रॉब्लम. उसकी वजह से भी इनके स्पीच का डेवलप नहीं हो पाता.
क्योंकि सीजर्स में जिस भी एरिया ऑफ द ब्रेन पे वो इफेक्ट कर रहा है, उस पार्ट में हमें एक रिग्रेशन देखने को मिल जाता है. बट Like I mentioned, like who will benefit from the OPT? So the kids who are not responding to the traditional therapy, because that one component of tactile proprioceptive is missing in the traditional therapy. That is why these kids will be benefited from the OPT. तो आप या तो अपने एरिया में देख लीजिए कि if there's somebody, so I'll suggest you go to him and get the OPT done, or you can contact us for the same.
Okay, ma'am.
Hello,
Okay.
ma'am.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
My son Abhijay, he's 5.6 years.
Hello.
Ma'am, I just wanted to know the
Hello, ma'am.
therapeutic listening and SSP both
Hello,
are
ma'am.
same, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Hello, ma'am.
One is already asking the question. Please, can we just take it in turns? Yes, please. 5.6-year-old child. Hello, am I audible?
Listening and SSP both are same, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
What one?
Therapeutic listening and
Therapeutic listening.
SSP both are same.
No, they are different. They are different.
Yeah. No.
They are different.
Okay. And okay, one more thing, ma'am. How can we teach child to hold water in the mouth?
How to teach is first we will start with a very small amount of water in the mouth. So I'll give the drinking water to the mouth and demonstrate. And also the child should have enough strength in the cheek first of all to hold it. So I'll give him 2 glasses, like one from which he is supposed to drink and the other one in which he can spit. So I'll tell him drink this and transfer to the other glass. So he just sees the task that I'm going to transfer water from here to here and try to make it fun. So both of you can do together. And once he starts transferring to this, then I will keep on increasing the distance. So if he's drinking here and I've kept a bucket or something at the end of the room, so the child has to go all through the room, cover the distance and then spit in the bucket and the water holding will come.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Hanji, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Please tell me.
Yeah, hi. My son is 5.5 years old. Actually, he use some sounds like he say ma ma ma. But when I tell him to say ba ba ba, then also he says ma ma ma, because the lip sync which we use for ma 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 and ba ba is same. So how should I teach him the sounds? Like he does spitting, he does blowing. Then he does all tongue exercise. I did all oromotor exercise like puffing of cheeks, blowing. So how should I? He from that, after doing that, he got some sounds like पहले तो आवाज ही नहीं निकालता था. Now he's removing sounds like ma, a, o. The which is usual. He's able to say that, but he's not able to say like k, k, d. How should I teach that?
Ma'am,
So
sare sounds, so it is not possible for me to tell you here. But first of all, whenever you're using hand prompts, you have to use different hand prompts for different sounds. Okay, so if I'm using the same straw for blowing and sucking, this is a very common encounter that we see, problem that we see, that when we give the child to suck, he will blow. When we give him to blow, he will suck. क्योंकि हमने जो stimulus था, उसको हमने differentiate नहीं किया. So if I'm saying ba, ma, so it is same. Right? So I have to use a different hand prompt. So for ma, I might be using ma, and ba, ba. So hand prompts have to be different for each sound. Till that differentiation is not done, we cannot expect the child to do the different sounds. Okay? So you change the hand prompts.
He's also having apraxia.
Okay. So
he's also having apraxia actually.
Okay.
Apraxia is suffering from apraxia also. So maybe some sounds are also not coming. And sometimes when I tell him to blow, like if I have given him the water and a straw, and I tell him to make bubbles like with a straw, so he sucks the water.
Exactly.
He's not able to understand that we have to blow. Yeah.
Because
he's not able to differentiate the suck.
Because you have not differentiated the stimulus. You are giving the same straw to suck and the same straw to blow. So child is not relating to the auditory command. So we have to change the stimulus. If I'm using a straw for sucking, I will be probably using a tube for blowing. Okay. So you have to change the stimulus that you are providing to the child as a visual cue or as a tactile cue, so that the child can differentiate in his mind. And for the apraxia kids especially, they know what to do. Okay. When they speak, the sounds come out differently, or they are not the consistency of the errors is not there. So there'll be very different kind of thing. If he wants to say bat, he might say bad, bad, mad, bad, anything. So he will not be able to say the correct word. That is what happens in apraxia. And OPT is a very good technique for apraxic kids. I have personally seen the results. So if you have somebody around in your area, I will suggest that you switch to OPT.
So like if I tell him, if I want to teach him like burr, so how will I teach him like with the hand prompt? So he will able to say that after that, like if I teach him like that, burr, burr, like that.
It depends. I haven't seen the child, so that depends on what is the current level of the child. If I just give him a hand prompt, will he be able to do it? Or do I need to provide him a tool to differentiate between burr and mur? So if he's not able to do that, first I will do the sound with the tool and then I will go to my hand prompts.
Okay. And suddenly he starts shouting like he's kabhi ekdam shant baitha rahega, and suddenly he starts shouting, "Ooh!" like that. I don't know वो अचानक ऐसे आवाज क्यों करता है, like I don't understand what is the problem. I like कोई nutritional deficiency कुछ भी नहीं है, वो सब टेस्ट किया, I'm giving all multivitamin and then all oromotor exercise, still उसका proprioceptive vestibular I'm working on that also, but still वो ऐसा कुछ ना कुछ ऐसे बीच बीच में ऐसे आवाज निकलता है, हु हैंड्स फ्लैप करके, इवन वो पैर भी ऐसा पटकता है नीचे एंड हैंड्स फ्लैप करके हु अचानक ही स्टार्ट्स शाउटिंग all of the sudden middle. तो वो ऐसे why it is happening like that?
It can be a stimming behavior, ma'am. It can be due to the sensory need, या फिर उसको कुछ sudden stimulus मिला है जिससे वो excited हुआ है, या जिसको वो cope करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, या if he's doing it in his free time. So we have to see what is the cause of stimming, and most likely it will come down to sensory, as in you're saying in your case. So he might be seeking the auditory stimulus, he might be seeking the proprioceptive, since the hand flapping is also going side to side, and he might be seeking the vestibular also. So randomly I cannot say, but the sensory system has to be checked for this.
So how should I stop his screaming? Like he screams a lot, like sometimes in between, not every like continuously, but all of the sudden.
Yeah. So this is, if I take it as one type of stim due to sensory issues, so if I stop this somehow, something else will crop up. So the thing is not to stop this, but to address this. So we have to see why that is happening. Is it happening because he's seeking the auditory stimulus? So we need to give him the auditory intervention to stop it. Okay. So we have to see the cause of the shouting.
This auditory intervention comes from vestibular, like from vestibular. Is it a vestibular seeking behavior or something like that?
No, auditory, it can be independent also. It can be independent from the vestibular. You have 8 systems in the body, so auditory is one of them. So it can exist as a separate entity, and it can be coexisting with the other sensory issues.
And also sometimes removes his tongue out, like half tongue out. Like this, we always have to tell him, keep your tongue inside, keep your tongue inside. He keeps his half tongue out, sometimes in between. So if I tell him to keep inside, then he put his tongue inside. So why is he removing his tongue out like that?
Ma'am, there can be many reasons why he's doing that. It can be anxiety, it can be stimming, it can be he's not feeling the tongue, so he's biting it between the teeth to get that awareness. So it can also be exploratory, it can be just because he's idle. So it can, the first reason has to be seen, when is he doing it, why is he doing it, how much is he doing it. Then only we can say why this behavior we are seeing.
No, he's not biting the tongue, he just removed the half tongue out, like normally, like that. So we tell him, this recently started by 2 months back only. He didn't used to do that. It suddenly all of started removing half tongue out. So
it just can be maybe a stimming behavior if he's got if he's doing it during the free time, if got too much free time, or it can also be due to the increase in anxiety levels, as we see a few oral habits due to the increase of psychological factors.
Okay, so how can we like control this stimming behavior? Is there any like remedy like
we need to see why first you need to see why is it happening, because stimming also happens because of many reasons. Okay, first we start ruling out from the medical, sensory, coping, anxiety, idle time, and everything we have to rule out.
Okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. So I'll be taking the last question and then we'll wind up the session. So if you have any other queries, you can please post it in the Telegram parent support group, or you can get in touch with us and email us at gigglesclinics@gmail.com. And it's already beyond time, so please quickly, I'll take up the last query.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. My daughter is 8-year-old and she bite her hand. I don't know why, due to a tantrums or she feels something in her teeth or whatever. I don't understand. Whenever she let me understand what she's saying or sometimes ऐसे ही. So I'm not able to get कि उसको teeth में कोई problem है या उसको हाथ में कुछ senses है या क्या है?
मैम वो कब कर रही है? जब वो अपनी बात बता रही होती है, आप नहीं समझ रहे हो तब?
मैम कई बार ऐसा होता है कि जैसे वो समझा रही है, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा. कई बार ऐसे होता है वो मतलब ऐसे ही बैठे हुए आइडली भी कई बार ऐसे कर रही है. तो मे बी शी इज गेटिंग सम थॉट इन हर माइंड और वो कन्वे नहीं कर पा रही है या उसने सोचा ही नहीं कि मैं कन्वे करूं.
हो सकता है मैम. सो वो एक फंक्शनल कम्युनिकेशन का भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, और वो एक जस्ट एक स्टिमिंग बिहेवियर भी हो सकता है कि उसको वहां पे डाल के वो खाली बैठी है, उसको एक इनपुट चाहिए अपने माउथ में. सो ही शी हैज पुट दिस हैंड इन द माउथ. सो you have to see कि उसको अगर हम words provide कर देते हैं, correct words to say what she wants to say, then this behavior
Actually,
will...
ma'am, she is non-verbal.
Okay. How old is she?
8 years.
8 years. So, ma'am, of course, functional communication plays a huge role. So we have to give her a way to communicate if she's not speaking. So either you can start with the OPT, or you can start with PECS, or you can start with some AAC. So we have to give one more to the child to express. If we do not give that expression, then we will see the behaviors. So give her expression in any form.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. So I'm closing the session, and I hope it was helpful to the parents.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Last one. Can you do online assessments right now without seeing the child personally?
No, we do
physically?
see the child. We have...
No, I mean without seeing the child physically. For
Yes.
orosensory, can you do a...
Yes, we can. We do have our procedures for that.
Okay.
And
so I will contact...
in this period, it is not possible. So we have developed
because,
the online program.
That's why I was wondering if is it possible to understand on
Yes,
the...
it is.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I hope it was helpful to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.